I'll do a little introduction for someone who's a really good friend for a long time and someone whose work I've admired for a long, long time. I've known Pete Favat's work for about 20 years, ever since he got the Mighty Mighty Bosstones to do a Converse commercial, and I was working at Saatchi & Saatchi, and I'm like, I didn't even know you were allowed to do that, right? So I've known his work for a long time. We all know that he made his name at Arnold with some incredibly brave work for truth. And I gotta tell you, I've never met anyone with so much passion and drive for great work. He honestly doesn't understand. He's almost stupid this way. He doesn't understand what you can and can't do. But he's got this energy, and he's just like, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do this. And it's incredible. I got to sit next to him in judging at the Andes, and I just heard him babbling in my ear the whole 5 days. It was great. Okay, so he's just recently went to Los Angeles, to Deutsch LA, to be Chief Creative Officer there, and he was lucky enough to get Winston Binch, who came over from Crispin. I think that there's advertising now and the way advertising was before Crispin Porter. That's how I look at it. You did it one way before them, and you do it the way we're doing it now because of them. Yes, there's some other people, but I think they really changed it. And again, just like Pete is just like, unclear on what the possibilities are, so he tries to do everything. They changed what the possibilities are. And Winston was a huge force in that, and he was instrumental starting at around, I think, 2005, for really, building up their digital capabilities, which aren't even digital capabilities anymore. They're advertising capabilities. And he's at Deutsch with Pete. They're doing amazing work. I hope you tell the story about Taco Bell.
Yeah, it's in there.
It's in there? All right. This. I gotta jump. They took part of the marketing budget and made sure that they had money for lawyers in case they got sued. So that's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Favat.
That was amazing. Hi everyone, I'm Pete Favat.
I'm Winston.
And we're here today to tell you that we're actually chickens. We're going to talk today, you hear a lot of talk about bravery, and we've seen a lot of seminars about bravery, and we want to take a little bit of a different angle on this because the two of us are extremely fortunate to have worked with some special people along the way, from the time we were really young to now. And there's no way that any of this crazy shit that we want to do, as Gerry said, because you do have to have balanced energy, and you should be thinking all the time, well, why not? And I love the so thing. That's we're going to get stolen. We're going to use that. That if you put a filter on yourself, you're only hurting yourself. So what you need to do, and what we're going to talk about today, and the thing I love about the Andes and Gina and Lucy and everyone at the Advertising Club, what they're trying to get across is looking for bravery. I don't think so much on the creative side, but on the client side. So the fact is, we're not brave.
Yeah. It's an honor to be here. When Pete and I first started talking about this, is the first slide I came up with. I'm like, shit, I'm not fucking brave. And the reality is, I love everything that Gerry said, but we aren't anything without our clients. We are in the service business, and I think if you look back at the work of the last 15 years, you can track. We have one idea. We want to do the bravery tracker, which talks about where the bravest clients are today. And I know that, and from my own personal experience, that it's the clients that pushed us, that were innovators, that allowed us to do some of our most breakthrough work. So we want to give them some credit. So these people are brave.
So tonight we want to go through a list of some people and the work that they've been part of, and more importantly, when you think about it, they put the neck on the line. If we do something crazy and we do something outrageous, it's their money. It's not our money. They're taking their money, putting it all over the place, and they're also taking their job, and they're putting their neck on the line. When you lose an account, we've all lost accounts. We'll get other accounts. That's just the way it is. But you just keep throwing ideas and throwing ideas at people. At the end of the day, if the client isn't brave and they're not in it with you, you're going to do nothing. So what we're trying to do, and what we've always tried to do, and the two of us have been lucky as hell to hook up with some amazing clients. So we're going to go through a list of our Magnificent Seven, and these are people who had a real impact on our lives and on our work, and we wouldn't be standing here tonight if it wasn't for them. So the first one up I want to talk about is Dr. Cheryl Healton. I never actually knew that she was a doctor until I just Googled her, because she was Cheryl to me. She was the CEO of the American Legacy Foundation. We won that account in 1999. And when we pitched it, I remember her asking, how much passion do you have against the tobacco industry? How much do you want to take them down? And if you didn't answer that question correctly, you weren't going to work on this piece of business. Because what she was trying to do was change the world. She was trying to save lives and really make a dent. And she didn't want PSA advertising. She didn't want public service advertising. So she would say, if you're into doing public service, you don't belong to be working with us. So she had a really, really high bar on legal rigor, and a creative bar was set super high. She had never done marketing before. She went to Columbia. She was in Columbia Medical School, and she ran their medical division over at Columbia Medical School, and this is the first time she was ever buying advertising. So in a way, you could look at it and say, okay, she had never done it before, so she didn't know what she was supposed to buy and what she wasn't supposed to buy. But the fact is that she had guts and determination. This is one of the most gutsy and brave people I've ever known. Because I don't know anyone else, when you bring an idea to a client and say, we're going to drop 1,200 body bags in front of Philip Morris Corporation, who, by the way, spends $14 billion a year on marketing globally. So they can pretty much put you out of business with one lawsuit. They can take you to court, hold you up in court, and they can drain you of every dollar that you have. And she said, fuck it, let's do this. Because we have to visualize the problem. We have to show them what happens when 1,200 people die every day. So when she greenlighted the spot and that program, I actually couldn't believe it. I thought, this can't be really true, because I can't believe we just did that. Like when Gerry said, you can bring a lot of crazy ideas to people, but then they say yes, and then you kind of are lost for a minute and disoriented. But she would allow us to push the envelope graphically too. So we put these posters up, and they went up all over Washington and New York, and there was one where their eyelids were sewn shut, ears were sewn shut, and mouths were sewn shut. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And you're supposed to shut up, and you're not supposed to pay attention to what the tobacco industry is doing. And when these went up, the amount of what Luke Sullivan used to call the flood of letter, it wasn't a flood of letter, it was a flood of letters. They got so much hate mail for these posters. And her reaction was, that's awesome, we totally got people's attention. Let's do more. And that's the kind of client that you would go into battle with anytime. Yeah. So thank you very much, Cheryl. That's a public thank you.
Woo, Cheryl.
Cheryl.
How many people have worked with Nike in here? A bunch. I mean, to me, dream client. I joined RGA in 2003, and I had previously worked at Sony Music Online, and then a thing called Napster came along, and we all got fired. So I was looking for a job, and in RGA at the time there wasn't much in the digital space. It was after the dot-com crash, and RGA, I'd seen the Nike work, and this guy was one of the reasons why I wanted to come work at RGA. And it actually took me 5 interviews. It was tough to get in. But this working on Nike at RGA changed my life. It was like getting a master's degree in innovation and experiential design. And if you work with Nike, they're full of creative, brave, smart people over there. They have tons of ideas. They're driven. It's a performance culture. But Brian Fink, I don't know if you know him, he ran digital marketing from 2001 to 2005. He was a big reason that they were able to go from an apparel brand and an advertising brand to a true software developer, right, and a digital innovation company. I got to work on something like Nike ID, like most of the world. But a lot of people touched this, but pushed them into, brought pop culture and customization to online shoe shopping. And it wasn't just a topical kind of idea, right? This went deep into their product pipeline. It changed how the company operated. It became a business unit. And Brian pushed these things. And he pushed us. I mean, he was one of those clients that you worked with where it was never too extreme enough. You know, he wanted more. He wanted first and innovation, and I learned a lot from that. And then he'd also fight for our ideas. These things did not look like ads, and we're still talking in the early days of digital, and Nike really in the early 2000s, to me, really owned the web. This is pre-YouTube, Facebook, you know, before Google. Google friends are here, became what it is today. And he pushed things that, you know, the top brass didn't quite recognize as being marketing, right? And Nike Plus is probably the most famous example. You know, I first worked on this, the Philips MP3 player. Looks funny, but that was their first version of this, and it became Plus. And then they got to a point where they dropped their ad spend traditional spend by 40%, right? And upped it, overall marketing by 2.4 billion. So Brian was a game changer, and thanks, Brian.
Joanna Jacobson is one of the top of my list. Gerry said before about the Boss Tones commercial. Joanna, I was 29. Three of us had started an agency in Boston, and she decided to give a 29-year-old ECD the entire Converse business. We were shocked. I'm usually shocked a lot because I can't believe things are actually happening. So Joanna had previously been in marketing a little bit. Maybe there's a pattern I have here with people who were never in marketing that they become great clients. But Joanna decided to give us the account. A small group of us who were in our late 20s started making some things for Converse, and she really liked what we were doing. Gerry mentioned the Boss Tones, but there was a bunch of subversive underground comics, and this is Danny Antonucci, who had this character called Lupo the Butcher. And I think, Gerry, you were talking to me about this at one point, that Joanna had no idea who these animators were, but they were part of the Sick and Twisted Animation Festival, and I used to go to this thing all the time, and I'm a big Chuck Taylor fan. Until this time, Converse really didn't advertise Chuck Taylors at all for fashion or part of culture. What they were advertising was for basketball. And we went to them and said, you know, you gotta stop advertising All-Stars for basketball because Nike's kicking your ass. You guys don't really make great basketball shoes, and no one's using these for sports anymore. So you have to completely pivot and start to sell All-Stars and Chuck Taylors as a lifestyle brand. So which we did, and this, Boss Tones, and a bunch of other subversive underground things we started to bring into national television. The Boss Tones were, again, we were in Boston. We had interviewed 10 different bands in Boston, and we decided to pick up some upstart, and we chose the Boss Tones, and we made a TV commercial out of them. And it was one of those things where everyone would say, why did you pick the Boss Tones? And it's like, I don't know, they sound good. And they were a pretty good band. I wasn't like a huge fan of them. But then they put that on MTV, and Converse put them on MTV. And to this day, Dickie Barrett, the lead singer, he sees me, he's like, that fucking commercial made us, man. So I appreciate that. The other thing that Joanna let us do, and this was one of where I didn't even know if this was a good idea, but it was like, screw it. Larry Johnson was the #1 draft pick in the NBA. I never liked basketball, and here I am running a basketball piece of business. I liked hockey and football, so they said, you know, it's the #1 draft pick in the NBA. You can't put a dress on it. You can't put a dress on Larry Johnson. That's crazy. And it's like, yeah, but I know, but I think that there's something to this. I think that there's something to the fact that Nike's being all serious. Nike's doing these huge aspirational things. I think we should be a little goofy and renegade, and I think it's just a little bit different. Joanna came in the conference room, saw I was talking with the client. She said, what are you guys talking about? Took one look at this and said, we're greenlighting it. Let's just go. Put a dress on him, and I want you to go down to Dallas and present the boards to him. Larry Johnson was like 6'6". He could have been a tight end. And I told him I'm going to use the boards as a shield if he comes at me, because I think you could either hate this idea or you could love this idea, but I don't know. And the thing I'm most proud about with this campaign and this idea is this artwork was just created 2 weeks ago. This campaign hasn't run since probably 2000. 1999 maybe was the last one, but kids are still making this art today, and Grandmama became such a huge piece of their culture. And so thanks to Joanna Jacobson for trusting a bunch of young knuckleheads who really didn't know what they were doing and just wanted to do something a little subversive.
Nice. So Russell, Domino's, helped turn a pizza delivery company into a marketing and tech innovator. And the quick story with Domino's, I think we all know, pizza tastes like cardboard. We're gonna change it. We say we suck. We're gonna move on. And the thing that happened with these guys is that, you know, I spent a lot of time working with their technology team on the .com and things like Pizza Tracker and so on. But you know, they really are an innovation company. They were a delivery. They were always in the delivery business, and so the IT group of the organization was very progressive, and they were really about testing and learning and failing fast and all those things. But the marketing part of the group was kind of siloed off, and they were pretty traditional. But then a little problem occurred. If you guys remember Boogergate in 2008, was when 2 employees put boogers on the pizza and put it up online, and so the brand got killed, and I think it was early in the kind of in social when people really didn't know how to respond to crises online, and so the brand sat quiet for 24 hours, and then within 48 hours, Patrick Doyle, the president, did a YouTube video and he apologized and he said they were going to fix it, and immediately they saw sentiment trend positive and it wasn't a problem anymore. So with that incident, they learned the power of transparency, and again, kind of tested their way in to bravery from a marketing and advertising perspective. And so then they said, well, we're going to embrace. They knew the product was a problem for years. They just knew they had to change, and it had been in the works for a while. But then they had the balls to come out, and talk about how they're going to make some dramatic changes, and they got Alpha Dog of the Week. That's what happens when you get balls.
I think everyone in the industry acknowledges this campaign. I'm sure it's in like every boardroom too. It's one of the ballsiest campaigns ever. It's for a client to go on and basically be so honest to say that the product sucks. I never worked on this, and I wish I did, because I think it's one of the most ballsy times in advertising history.
But it's also that the point there, I think Gerry brought up, is this was strategic too. And I think with all these, these are smart strategic marketers. They're not just making decisions because, they just want to make noise. I mean, there was real business opportunity in that change.
Next one up, and we'll speed it up. Yeah. Brian Nichol is the CEO at Taco Bell. So Brian is our client today. And to be honest with you, as Gerry alluded to before, I think this is one of my favorite headlines of all time. Taco Bell is going thermonuclear in the breakfast war with McDonald's. Basically, Taco Bell came to us and said, hey, we want to get into breakfast. We've got a couple of products that we really like, and we've got to punch through and break through in breakfast, which is a impossible task because you're a zombie until you get your coffee, and everyone's in a routine. So Brian actually had an idea. He said, let's just make it a 2-horse race. Let's just go right at McDonald's. And I remember saying, oh yeah, that's like when you get thrown in jail and you go and hit the biggest guy in the prison yard, like that. And here's what he looks like. Wait, wait.
No.
Oh.
Wrong way, man.
Wrong way. Here's what he looks like. I don't think he ever spent a day in prison. So he kind of looked at me weird. So when we said to him, you know what, let's find 300. There's 300 guys named Ronald McDonald in America, and let's get them to eat Taco Bell breakfast. And we put this on air. Gerry, I was talking to Gerry at one of the shows that we were doing, and I was telling him the story, and it's true. They had, I call it lawyers, guns, and money, without the guns, but they had lawyers and money sitting in the Chicago Circuit Court waiting for the McDonald's lawyers to come in and cause an injunction and to get everything taken off the air. And he said, we're going to do whatever we can to keep this shit as running as long as we possibly can. And I don't care if McDonald's comes at us. And you know what? The truth is, the risk that he took, McDonald's did nothing. They sent out one little tweet with a Chihuahua, which is like 9-10 years ago, and Ronald McDonald's big shoes, saying, hey, that whole thing was cute. The fact is that when you're a challenger brand and you go after the big guy, it's very rare that they'll come after you. So you're kind of safe. But so this year we just did a second version, and they're not taking it so lightly anymore. So I don't want to get into that. But Brian Nichol is an extremely brave
and
individual.
the whole organization, Tressie Lieberman too, runs digital. I mean, it's just innovated and kind of changed social brands. Russ Klein, Burger King, 2003, 2009. This guy changed the web. Subservient chicken, and then even I don't know if you guys remember this, but in 2006 he took what was a very large sum of money, a lot of the production budget for that year, and made 3 Xbox games that he sold at point of sale for $3.99. And then he let us take on and fuck with Facebook. And again, it wasn't without purpose. This wasn't just random experimentation. We had 60 straight months of positive growth. Obviously, in late 2008, 2009, the brand needed to be kind of re-looked at, but great innovator. And also someone, we talk about tension. Pete talks about finding an enemy in tension. Ross was actually the person that brought us the concept of tension, and it informed our brief, and a lot of us still use that today. Yeah, also, another one of our clients, Jeff Jones, great guy, innovator, joined Target about the same time when I joined Deutsch LA 4 years ago. Inherited a giant marketing organization, like staggering. And one of the first things he did, I did a panel with him on failure. And Andy Spade was there too, and we talked to his marketing organization. And what he's always wanted to try and bring more of an experimental approach to what they do. It's hard to do in a big company, particularly when you have huge data breaches and so on. But just recently, we had a big win, and Jeff was really behind this.
Yeah, basically, Target had purchased 8 spots, 30-second spots on the Grammys. And we went to them and went to Jeff and said, why don't we just collapse them all into 4 minutes of time? So just buy 4 minutes of time, put them all together, and we'll do an Imagine Dragons live concert on the Grammys. And he said, has that ever been done before? And we said, let's check. And I was like, it had never been done before. And when we asked, I think it was at ABC, CBS, why it's never been done before, they said because it's hard as shit to do it, and no one's ever been able to do it. So we went back and said, well, they said it's hard as shit to do, and the network's really not going to be too cooperative with us, but they will do it if we want to do it. So we had to get a whole production crew and do this live thing where literally the countdown to it was nerve-wracking because they just made a huge bet. And it all went off. We have the most, Vic Palumbo, we have one of the best production teams in the country. But Jeff took that chance. There could have been a major flop and could have been a major accident.
Gratitude. We love the word bravery. I think everything Gerry said is super, that's what we strive for, bravery, being courageous. But I did a panel recently with this guy, Jeff Curl, and he runs this company called Stance. They're a sock company in San Clemente, and he co-founded Skull Candy. And I was on stage with him, and he made me cry in the middle of the panel. And he said, gratitude, I've never heard this as a business thought or an idea. And he said it's our biggest value. And I said, well, how do you bring it to life? And he said, well, every week, and we've done this since they're about a 100-person company, we ask the employees to write a thank you note. And it can be a thank you note to anyone. And a lot of people write them to clients, family members, teachers. And I think we talk about, this being a team sport, and every piece of work up there, it was done with a group of people. The clients were a massive and big part of it. And what we've been doing, we're not having the whole agency write thank you notes, but Pete and I have been doing them. And it just found the experience really rewarding, connecting us with people that we have a debt of gratitude towards. So really recommend doing it, pay it forward.
I also think, and this is something I've been working with Gina and Lucy in the ad club for a while. And when we started talking about this, it was 2 years ago, right? It was, and when you think about it, we've all gone up and we get our awards and we go on stage and we take a lot of the credit. And there's a list of clients who are there, but clients never come up with you. And it's kind of weird to me because in a lot of cases, a lot of the award shows and a lot of the recognition that we get is we get it, and there's a lot of other people who should get it with us. So when Gina started talking about this bravery, going down the road of bravery, and starting to reward clients and historically who have done amazing campaigns, this is our little hall of bravery, and this is our little our hall of fantastic people who, without any of these people up here, we're not even standing here. I'm probably,
So
I don't even want to know.
Say thank you to your say thanks to your brave
So
clients, because we need more of them. That's the reality. We need more of these people. Let's encourage them and really support it.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.